Sometimes the past doesn't knock. It just arrives in your mailbox, a wedding invitation, a familiar name, and a woman who thought she'd already healed. Tonight, on the Confession Stories, one envelope opens a door she never meant to walk through. Her name is Nora, 31, Des Moines, Iowa. And this is what happened when the past arrived on cream cardstock with gold trim.
It didn't even look dangerous. Just an envelope tucked between pizza coupons and a dentist reminder. But I knew the weight of it before I picked it up. The way the flap pressed flat. The way my name curved in a hand I recognized from Christmas cards. I took it to the sink, set it down, and turned the faucet on. The water filled the little apartment hum. Refrigerator, ceiling fan, running tap, like a sound bath for bad decisions. You're invited to celebrate the wedding of David and Cheryl. I read it once, then again. Uncle David, my mom's little brother, the one who still calls me Nori at Thanksgiving, and Cheryl, the woman who used to sign holiday cards with Tom's last name. Tom, the person she thought would be my soft place to land, right up until he became a cautionary tale with a good playlist. We were quick and bright and reckless. 6 months of deep dives and late-night sandwiches, and the kind of laughter that makes your ribs sore. He said he'd never been seen like that. I believed him, right up until the day my phone quieted like the world after a blizzard. Calls went to voicemail. Then the ring didn't happen at all. 2 months later, his smile reappeared in Cheryl's photos, arm snug around her waist, captioned, "Sometimes love just needs time." I learned that closure is a word people use when they don't plan to answer for the mess they made. So now Cheryl was marrying into my family. Life in the Midwest teaches you to fold napkins, bring a side dish, and swallow things whole. Mom said, "Honey, it's family. You show up, you smile, you be gracious." Her voice carried that tidy kind of kindness that lives between church pews and casserole dishes. I wanted to tell her how the invitation felt like a dare, how my palms went slick just reading their names in the same sentence, how I could already hear the whispers before anyone made a sound. But good daughters don't bleed on the table. They say, "Okay." That night, I laid the card beneath the yellow kitchen light and watched the gold letters shine like they were enjoying themselves. I poured a glass of water, then wine, then water again, bargaining with a future that refused to budge. I thought about not going, about letting the day pass like any other Saturday, laundry, errands, a walk around Gray's Lake if the wind behaved. But something stubborn in me, the part that refuses to let other people narrate my life, whispered, "You don't have to hide just because they're comfortable with your absence." So I said yes, not to them, but to showing up for the version of me who still believed she could stand in a room and not go transparent. I chose the beige dress, the color of nothing to see here. I ironed it smooth, practiced a smile that didn't trigger the ache in my cheeks, and told the mirror, "You'll be kind. You'll be small. You'll survive." Survival sounds noble until you realize it's just another word for going quiet while the floor is being set for everyone else's comfort. The morning of the wedding came in soft and gray, the sort of sky Iowa gets when the weather hasn't made up its mind. I ate toast I couldn't taste, texted Mom, "On my way," and slid the invitation into my bag like I might need proof later that I hadn't crashed something I wasn't welcome to. On the drive, The radio gave me a church song I didn't know and a weather report about rain that might or might not arrive. I kept thinking, if I sit in the back, if I keep my hands folded, if I clap at the right times, will I earn the right to be harmless? No one tells you how heavy harmless can feel. The venue smelled like rain and old wood, that blend of nostalgia and mildew that belongs to Midwest weddings and basement Christmases. White roses, fairy lights, the hum of a rented piano struggling through Ed Sheeran like it had survived too many receptions. Every chair wore a satin bow tighter than most marriages I knew. I found my name, table 9, near the back, next to the emergency exit. The irony almost made me smile. People were kind in that careful way. You're kind when you already know someone's story, but pretend you don't. Little nods, half smiles, eyes that didn't quite meet mine. I could feel them whispering behind the clink of glasses. Every so often, a laugh, soft, restrained, landed like a pebble near my feet. I wanted to believe it wasn't about me, but the human body knows when it's being discussed. My shoulders knew, my heartbeat knew. When Cheryl walked in, the air shifted, a collective inhale disguised as admiration. She was stunning, of course. Ivory silk, hair pinned with pearls, that kind of glow you can't buy, only inherit from being forgiven. The guests rose. I didn't, not right away. Half a second too slow, long enough for the sound of my chair scraping to echo louder than it should. And that was it. The moment the room located me, like I'd accidentally coughed during prayer. Her eyes brushed mine, just once. Not long enough to be rude, just long enough to make me wish I'd stayed home. When the officiant said, "Does anyone here object?" my throat closed before the sentence did. She looked straight at me then, a flicker, a spark, the kind of moment that would never show up in photos, but would replay in my head forever. Applause followed. Rings, vows, the promise of forever. I clapped too. I think I even smiled. That's the thing about politeness. It's just repression, dressed up as grace. At the reception, I found a quiet corner near the bar. The ice in my glass clicked like punctuation to the silence around me. The bartender asked what I was having. I said ginger ale. It sounded like an apology. Then I felt it. That shift in the air you can sense before a storm. She was walking toward me. Cheryl, alone. Her bouquet tilted slightly, a petal bruised near the edge. Even perfection gets tired. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said. The smile didn't reach her eyes. I forced a laugh. Family, right? Would have been rude not to. Her head tilted, slow, calculating, like she was deciding whether to swat a fly or study it. "Just don't make this about you, okay?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" She smiled again, softer now. That polished empathy women learn to weaponize when they can't afford to be unkind. "I mean, I know this must be hard for you." And that word, hard, sounded like pity with a perfume sample. Up close, I noticed the tiniest hand tremor under her bouquet. Not fear of me exactly, more like fear of a story getting away from her. Maybe that's why she needed a villain almost as much as she needed a husband. She turned back to her circle. The laughter resumed. The music swelled. But for the rest of the night, I could feel her orbit, silent, precise, like gravity disguised as grace. A phone lit up near the dance floor. Someone angled their camera toward me like they were saving evidence for later. I didn't know what I was being measured against. only that the test had already started. Dinner blurred into speeches, the kind that tried too hard to sound spontaneous. A line about fate, a joke about second chances, laughter that echoed like silverware against porcelain. I kept my eyes on my plate, tracing the pattern of gold trim until it started to look like a map I could escape through. Uncle David looked happy. That part was real, the kind of happy that makes you forgive him for not noticing the storm sitting 3 tables away. Then came the first dance. Soft lights, low music, the air sweet with wine and nostalgia. They swayed under a halo of fairy bulbs, and for a moment I almost believed this day belonged to them. Until I saw Tom, standing near the buffet, holding a glass, his fiancée, someone new, laughing beside him. Our eyes met across the room. Not long, not charged, just that strange, silent recognition between 2 people who once spoke the same language. I didn't even smile, but it was enough. Cheryl saw it too. Her hand faltered mid-spin, and red wine leapt from her glass like it had been waiting for an excuse. A gasp, collective, sharp, cut through the music. Someone said, "Oh my God." Someone else said, "What happened?" And then, the words that changed everything. She did it. At first, I thought they meant someone else, until heads turned, one by one, like sunflowers toward scandal. Cheryl's white dress bloomed red at the waist, her face twisted. Confusion first, then anger, and when her eyes found mine, I knew. She wasn't defending herself. She was performing the injury. "Why would you do that?" she said, quiet, but loud enough for everyone to hear. The room held its breath. I looked down at my hands, empty, at the untouched ginger ale sweating on the counter beside me. I tried to speak, but guilt travels faster than truth. Her maid of honor stepped between us. Someone whispered, "Always the ex, isn't it?" I backed away. 1 step, then 2. The music had stopped, but the silence had rhythm. Outside, the rain had started, thin, hesitant, like it didn't want to be involved. I walked out without my coat. The door closed behind me with a kind of softness that still feels like punishment. Water hit my shoulders, my hair, my face, and for the first time all night, no one was watching. I didn't cry, not because I was strong, but because humiliation dries faster than tears. Somewhere inside, they were probably cleaning the floor, refilling glasses, pretending the spill had been an accident. But every story needs a villain, and I guess it was just my turn. The morning after felt like a hangover without the drinking. The light coming through my blinds was too clean, the kind that makes even the truth look overexposed. My phone blinked with messages before I could even reach for coffee. A notification, a tag, then another. Someone had posted a photo from the wedding. Cheryl in her stained dress, tears in her eyes. And behind her, blurred but clear enough, me, standing at the bar, a half-turned face caught mid-motion, the caption reading, "When your ex shows up to your wedding, uninvited." Uninvited. That word hit harder than the accusation itself, because I still had the invitation, creased, folded, proof of my existence. But proof means nothing once people decide what story they like better. I scrolled through the comments, tiny verdicts written by strangers who would never taste Iowa rain or know my name outside a caption. So petty? Some people can't move on. Imagine ruining someone's big day like that. They didn't need facts. They had feeling, and outrage travels faster than context. That evening, Uncle David called. His voice was quiet, the kind people use at hospitals or funerals. He said, "Cheryl's upset. She thinks you came to provoke her." I waited for the part where he'd say he didn't believe it. It never came. He sighed. "I just wish you'd stayed home." The line clicked off, and for the first time in a long time, I realized how silence can weigh more than shouting. Days blurred. People moved on. The post was deleted, but not forgotten. Friends who used to text every week turned into typing bubbles that never sent. It was like being erased, but gently, like chalk in the rain. I went back to work, to errands, to life. No one asked, no one mentioned the wedding. It was almost kind. That brand of kindness that pretends forgetting is forgiveness. But every now and then, when the sky turns that same gray as the day I left the reception, I still feel the phantom of their stares, as if I'm forever standing in that room, explaining something no one asked to understand. A month passed before I heard from him. Tom. His name in my inbox felt like a ghost knocking politely. The subject line just said, "I'm sorry." Inside a single paragraph, short, unpunctuated, the kind of message you send when you hope it doesn't start a conversation. He wrote, "I'm sorry for what happened at the wedding. It wasn't you. She tripped. The glass slipped. People were already watching." That was it. No explanation. No real apology. Just a quiet confession from a man too late to matter. I didn't reply, but I printed it, folded it once, slipped it into the same drawer where the invitation still lived. Two ghosts of the same misunderstanding, pressed flat between old receipts and spare batteries. Sometimes I open that drawer, not to reread them, just to remind myself that truth doesn't always need witnesses. It can exist quietly in the small private places that no one scrolls through. Life went back to something resembling normal. Work, errands, birthdays, the kind of living that hums at a low, forgiving volume. But every so often, when I pass a wedding dress shop or hear a certain piano song on the radio, a part of me remembers the way everyone looked at me that day, like grief could be contagious. I turned the kitchen faucet on, that same soft rush of water from the night I opened the envelope. This time, it sounded less like a warning and more like a wash. And then I breathe, because I know now, sometimes peace isn't clearing your name, it's learning to live without needing to. The world forgot, and somehow, that's how I finally got to remember myself.
If this story found you tonight, maybe you've carried a room's misunderstanding too. Maybe you've stood still while someone else's version of you filled the silence. To Nora, thank you for trusting us with the quiet truth. Here's our question for you, listening at home. Was she wrong to show up, or brave to refuse disappearing? Tell us, kindly, in the comments. Your perspective might be the hand someone needs to hold tonight. If you believe stories like this deserve a softer place to land, tap subscribe and turn on the bell so the next confession finds you when it's ready. If this episode helped you breathe a little easier, please like the video and share it with someone who might need gentleness more than advice. This is The Confession Stories, where we make room for what's true, even when it's quiet. Good night. And if you're walking through rain on your way home, we're right here with you.